Okay, talk.
Good evening, Joe.
Yeah, you're on recording, so.
I want to thank you for at least being interested in what I witnessed many years ago, prior to or during World War II. I was in Gillette School, and Mrs. Burbank, as I recall, was the principal, and I was out in the yard recreation, having the recreation period, and I saw what was I believe it was a Navy plane of I don't know, Sikorsky or one of the fighting aircraft that we had developed for World War II, and it went screaming over the cupola at about 500 feet in height. And sparks were coming out of the engine, and fire basically was being drafted back because of the direction of the plane, and it did three, as I recall, three turns, horizontal turns, and then straightened out. And the next thing I saw was I heard the hit, but we saw this big splash of sparks. And that's what I did see. And the reason I didn't see more was the plane, I believe, crashed much lower in elevation than where the school was. So pretty much that's it. The sound was terrifying, and you knew the plane was totally out of control, and it seemed to be going at a rate of speed. The propellers are like full bore on the engine, and that certainly was the first thing we heard. And then we looked up and saw, as I described. So that's pretty much it.
Did you see the pilot apparently bailed out? I understand.
The pilot did bail out. Right?
Did you see a shoot at all? Or?
Did not see a shoot, and I don't know at what altitude he bailed out, but probably at
much higher than 500 feet.
Oh God, yes, had to be. Maybe it was 10,000 feet, and I don't know where he was headed, but he might have been in formation. Mm-hmm. He might have fallen out of formation, but it was a mechanical error in the plane, and obviously the plane crashed without being piloted. And barely missed, as I'm told, a home, and the impact apparently splashed or created mud, which was on the side of the house that it had missed. So it was a miracle that no one was killed. But boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Now, was John Fucci with you at the time?
No. I was alone in the not alone. I was among with a bunch of other kids out in the playground.
Okay.
When this happened.
Because I'd spoken to Mr. Sage, and on Sage Drive, that's where the house is, and intersects, was it Mountain Boulevard?
Correct.
Or whatever it is. And that's where it hit, and they said that they were coming, eventually, they came and got the engine out of the creek. They dug it out. An engine was the only thing that left. Everything else blew to pieces.
Sure.
And they said that for years and years, underneath the high-tension wires there, they would come with metal detectors and find, in theory, you could still find pieces of that plane underneath the...
no doubt about it. That when it hit, it disintegrated. I mean, you could tell from you could hear you could actually feel the impact, hear the impact, and see the sparks of flying metal and et cetera, being thrust out of the away from the wreckage.
Now, can you recall what time of the year it was, or was it?
Well, it was during the school year, so I would say it was in June.
Okay.
That's my recollection of it.
And would you hazard a guess either what grade or what year that might have been? How many years prior to the end of the war, or it might have been, or?
I really can tell you it was towards the end of the war, mm-hmm. but I don't know how far along it had, how close it was to the end of the war.
Right, because I researched the newspapers down at the library, and I could not find the incidents of this, but I know that John Fucci definitely saw it too.
Yes, he did.
And what was the other thing I was going to say? I spoke to a guy who worked at Grumman, and he said they would test them out, and then if they were okay, then they'd sign him over to the military.
Right.
So he could have been a civilian pilot.
Well, the plane had military marks, and I don't know. I remember I thought it was Navy, but it could have been Air Force. It had stars on it, and it was blue in color, and it had the double cockpit, that classic cockpit, which would actually, I'm surprised because it should have probably had two pilots, two passengers, one the pilot, the other co-pilot.
So you think it was a two-seater?
Yes, it definitely was.
Okay, well, that would maybe it was a T6.
Well, I don't know, but I do know that the fuselages I'm very familiar with because I got very interested in this type of aircraft, and I have scale models of them all.
All right, now you're familiar with George Bush's torpedo bomber. It wasn't that. It didn't have like a ball turret in the back?
No.
All right, so if it was a two-seater,
yeah,
the only one I know would be something like a T6, which would have been a Navy.
Yeah, well, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was Navy.
Trainer.
Yep. Well, it probably you hit it. I think it was a Navy trainer.
All right. Well, we learned something tonight because.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Robert.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dupont, for.
Well, I want to get this over to the Warren Historical Society.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they'll actually put up a plaque some year.
Yeah.
Where this thing went down.
Well, it was a miracle that no one was killed. When a plane is loose and it's headed towards an unknown area or target, a lot of people could have been absolutely killed. It could have hit the school, actually, and it didn't. So,
well, Mr. Sage said that the reason why he knows that it was, I think it was on a Wednesday when this thing happened, because the cleaning lady
could have been
only came on Wednesday, and that was the day she was there. I
Okay.
think that's what he said. I'm going to get a recording from him.
Then it was Wednesday.
I
If
think
that's
what he told me a couple of years ago. So.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time, Joe.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right.